Gwe Ibjilidak. Bonjour, bienvenue, hello, and welcome once again to Mainland Commons Field for the final round-robin game of the 2023 Women's National Championship Tournament for Baseball Canada. My name is Michael Petter, joined today by Chase Leslie, and we have got a great game lined up for us with so many playoff implications. It's going to be Team Nova Scotia against Team Ontario 2 in the Pool B play. And before we get into all of the ramifications and possibilities and whatnot, we do need to take a moment to once again acknowledge, as we do before every game, that Mainland Commons, as well as Weirfield, for that matter, the entirety of HRM and the full province of Nova Scotia, all lie within the ancestral, unceded territory of Mi'kmaq. We mentioned that this is the final Pool B game in the round robin, actually one of two final Pool B games that are taking place simultaneously. Over at Weirfield, it's going to be Manitoba against Saskatchewan. Here we've got Nova Scotia and Ontario. And Chase, this should be a great game because there is so much on the line for both of these teams.
Yeah, and I've been excited to see this game for a while. And obviously Nova Scotia got that win yesterday. And two of the best teams that have played the last few days. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Nova Scotia coming in with a record of 2-1. Ontario comes in with a record of 2-1. So the one thing we know for sure, whoever wins this game will get a spot in the playoffs. If Nova Scotia wins, because they have a win against Manitoba, who's the only other team who could finish 3-1, Nova Scotia would get first place and would get directly into the semifinal berth. If Nova Scotia loses this game, based on the different tiebreakers and everything else, as I've gone through, and I should point out, I am not an official with Baseball Canada. These are not the official tiebreakers, but as I have gone through all of the stats and everything, if Nova Scotia loses this game, regardless of what happens between Manitoba and Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia would finish third. Do not take this as the official word, but that is as I have read the standings and gone through the results and done all the math. Nova Scotia would finish third if they lose and would play in the placement games. For Ontario, and of course we've got a lot of fans watching from Ontario, if they win and Saskatchewan wins in the game against Manitoba, Ontario finishes first in the pool and they go right to a semi-final. If Ontario wins and Manitoba wins, Ontario finishes second in the pool and they would have to play in a quarterfinal game tonight. But like I said, for both of these teams, you win, you're still in the running for the gold medal.
Yeah, and this is pretty crucial, and yeah, this will be a good game. And we'll keep an eye on the games that are happening at Weirfield, because it really depends on what happens at Weirfield, like you said. But we'll keep an eye on what's happening at Weir, and we'll let you know when we have the proof of what's happening.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at the Nova Scotia starting batting order. It's going to be Ellie McCauley leading off, playing center field. Ali Stymus, the catcher, bats second. Julia Konigshofer, the shortstop, bats third. Middle of the order, Carly Snow, the DH, in the four-hole. Carly Jackson bats fifth. Katie Hagan will play second base and bat sixth. And then the bottom of the order, Rayleigh Nickerson in right field, Jill Stymus in left field, and Michaela Addington, the first baseman, are 7, 8, 9. And all of that will be in support of the starting pitcher, Jada Lee. And they'll be hitting into this defense for Team Ontario, the outfield. Kira Owen in left, Oceane Leclerc in center, and Sophie Levasseur in right. Around the infield from left to right, it is Kaylee Masuda. At third base, shortstop Ainsley Lane. Second base will be Mary Green, and manning first base is Paige Allen. Behind the plate doing the catching is Sarah Maya. And on the mound for Team Ontario, Lauren Howarth. And Howarth, we got a chance to see her on this field do a little bit of pitching in the game back on Thursday. And Howarth, a good, strong, directly over-the-top delivery from the right-hander. And as you can see during her warm-up tosses here, a really strong pitcher on the mound for Ontario.
Yes, I agree. And both pitchers have been doing well. And before the game, I went over to watch Jada Lee pitch for down in the bullpen, and she was locating her fastball very, very well. And she could use she could throw that hard, and she could use her curveball very, very well, and she could throw that all around the zone, and it really worked for her.
So here comes Ellie McCauley to lead things off for Team Nova Scotia here in the top of the first inning. And Chase, you play a lot of ball. You know how important
Yes.
it is to get out to a quick start in a game like this.
Yeah, and baseball's all about getting out to a quick lead and trying to get the other team to lead. But it's not as hard as you would think. Yeah, if Nova Scotia can get out to a good lead, and I've seen that in a few games in this tournament, like they'll come ahead, but then there's been a lot of comebacks. Manitoba got a lead, and Alberta came back.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of close, hard-fought games. Getting a lead early does not necessarily mean that you're going to walk away with
No.
it. We've seen Manitoba make comebacks. We saw Nova Scotia make a comeback. We've seen Saskatchewan. All of these teams have the game that just finished over at Weir Field between Ontario 1 and British Columbia. The lead changed hands, I think, 7 or 8 times in that one.
Oh my gosh,
So,
that's a lot.
it ended up being Ontario coming away with the win in that one, 12-10. So Ontario finishes 1 and 2, but they still finish 4th in the pool because they lost their head-to-head game against Alberta.
Oh, good.
And British Columbia drops to 2 and 1, but they still finish 1st in the pool because they had the head-to-head victory over Quebec. So it was 2 teams at 2 and 1, 2 teams at 1 and 2. Ellie McCauley strikes out, and then the throw down to first to put her out for the first out of the inning.
Can you turn the mic down?
And so that is out number 1. Whoops. There we go. All right, and that brings up Allie Stymist. Stymist coming in. She'll be catching for Team Nova Scotia here in this one. Stymist has played a little bit of left field, a little bit of center field, played a little bit of second base so far in this tournament. One of those multi-tool athletes for Nova Scotia, and when you've got a relatively small roster like this, you need to have players who are able to play multiple positions so you can fit them in just about anywhere you need them.
Yeah, and if multiple people can play the same position, it also helps the coach, because if one player can't show up for a game, it's good to have a backup player to fit in that spot, and always be prepared, and it should work out.
Howarth with the delivery, and there's a strike. And with the calling of that strike, we'll take an opportunity to mention our umpires for this game. It is Vicky Ross from BC behind the plate, Jarrett Conrad, excuse me, can't even read what's on my own screen. Jarrett Conrad of Nova Scotia at first base, and Geneviève Saint-Arnaud-Gabory is doing the umpiring at third base for this afternoon's game. Hard hit ball, and just about caught off the tip of the glove of Ainsley Lane.
Can you turn the volume down to kind of like my ear?
Oh, in your ear? Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll wait and see whether that gets called as a hit or an error. I think they probably will end up ruling that one an error. And so Nova Scotia with the first base runner of the game. That brings up Julia Konigshofer with 1 on and 1 out. Again, we'll just wait for the confirmation from our official scorer. As I try to pull up the right tab here on my computer. Too many buttons. No, it is ruled a hit, so Allie Stymist with the infield single.
Julia made the Team Canada national baseball team last summer.
And likely will be part of that team again coming up in a couple of weeks in Thunder Bay, a big event coming up there with Canada hosting a World Cup qualifying tournament against the likes of United States, Mexico, Hong Kong.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough field, and a lot of good baseball expected in that tournament in Thunder Bay. I believe the start date is August 7th, I want to say.
Okay.
Throw over to first, and Stymist was able to get back. Now that pitch misses down and away from Howarth, and the count goes to 2-0 on Konigshofer. Howarth steps away as Konigshofer taking a long time looking at the signs coming from her dad, at the third base coach over there. Howarth gets set and delivers. Looping curveball in for a strike, and the count goes to 2-1. And as I see, I was a little bit slow getting the base runner onto the scoreboard there. Once again, remind you that if there is a delay between what you know to be the accurate assessment of the game and what you see on your scoreboard, it's just because I haven't hit a button yet.
Pass ball. We'll move up to second. Well, the Waverly native hoping to get the first run of the game for Team Nova Scotia.
With Stymist now in scoring position, that's a big opportunity for Konigshofer. And we should also mention that the top of the first inning, sponsored by, gotta flip my sheets around here to find, actually, if we were doing the full broadcast with commercials and everything, you'd have a Baseball Canada commercial for before the top of the first inning. So sponsored by Baseball Canada, there you go. Full count on Konigshofer. Howarth gets herself set and delivers.
The pitch skied, but left fielder calls for it, gets under it, makes the catch.
Kira Owen with the catch for the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Carly Snow. Snow with some big blasts in the last couple of games for Nova Scotia. She's been one of the hotter hitters in this lineup. Snow, one of the few imports for Nova Scotia in this game, or in this tournament.
From Summerside.
Yeah, not quite enough players in Nova Scotia to field a full team, so Baseball Canada, because this is an invitational tournament, not a traditional championship, Nova Scotia is allowed to draw some players from outside the province. Carly, one example of that from Summerside. There's a couple players from New Brunswick as well on this Nova Scotia team, but the vast majority of them are from here in this province, as Snow pulls that one foul.
Is that for each team, or is that just for Nova Scotia because of the host?
I think it was just for Nova Scotia, just because, like, you look at the size of Ontario and Quebec, they have such a bigger pool of players to draw from. Similarly, Manitoba and the Western provinces.
Yep.
And Nova Scotia, here in Atlantic Canada, we have smaller population bases. We're given a little more room. Runner is going, and the pitch is fouled off, so the count goes to 0-2 on Snow from Summerside. And Stymist makes her way back down to second base. Ali Stymist out there on second base. She's from New Brunswick, so another one of those imports that we were talking about. Grounder just past Howarth, and it'll get through the middle of the infield. Stymist rounding third. She's going to head for home and will get in without a throw.
Nova Scotia up 1-0. That's a good start. Nova Scotia hoping to keep that going.
A big RBI for Carly Snow. That'll bring up the other Carly, Carly Jackson. Carly Jackson from Amherst. A true two-sport athlete, to the point that she's a professional hockey player through the winter and plays baseball at the high level here through the summer. That one misses low, 1-0. Jackson recently won a championship with the Toronto Six of the Premier Hockey Federation, the Women's Hockey League, based out of northeastern U.S. and Canada.
That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah. And what will end up being the last championship ever won in the Premier Hockey Federation, because that league has merged with the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association to create a new higher level professional women's league. So the Toronto Six will always be the answer to a trivia question: who won the last last PHF championship? Carly Jackson was the goalie, and Toronto Six were the winners. 2-1 the count on Jackson.
The ball crushed, and left fielder trying to cut it off, and it goes 2 feet, and she throws it in, and runner being told to head home. And no throw. Runner going to third, slides in safely. So an RBI triple.
Carly Jackson with the big hit to put Nova Scotia out in front now, 2-0. And Jackson gets all the way around to third on the big hit out to right center field. That'll bring up Katie Hagen, the second baseman. Hagen was one of the 2 pitchers for Nova Scotia in last night's game. She ended up getting a 4-out save in the win over Manitoba. That exciting game here at Mainland Commons last night. Howarth delivers. That'll miss high and outside.
She can locate that curveball just maybe a little to the right of home plate, then she'll get that in for a strike.
2 runs on 3 hits here in the top of the first inning already for Team Nova Scotia. We know this Nova Scotia lineup has pop. We saw it in their first game against Quebec. We saw it in their game last night against Manitoba. Bats struggled a little bit in that game against Saskatchewan that they lost 12-2. Part of that was, they were playing their second game of the day. Saskatchewan was playing their first, so possibly a little bit of a fatigue factor there, but...
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, they probably didn't have much rest between games.
Yeah, curveball in for a strike there, so the count goes to 3-1 on Hagen. Comes that 3-1 pitch.
She reaches for it, gets it to second, and second baseman misses it, throws on to first, and it's too late. Run scores for Team Nova Scotia, and NS up now 3-0.
A picture-perfect start for the home team. They're the visiting team as far as the game goes, but they are the home team when it comes to this field, and you can hear the Nova Scotia fans very appreciative of the effort that their team is making, and it brings up Rayleigh Nickerson, the right fielder for Nova Scotia. 7th batter of the inning for Team Nova Scotia. Great start here. And that last play by Hagen was, I do have the runner on the wrong base. There we go, now we got it. Hagen reaching on the error, so that third run is an unearned run against Howarth. And no RBI credited to Hagen for it because the inning would have ended, and so therefore she does not get credit for an RBI on that third run. That pitch misses outside. Warm day here once again in Halifax. We've had beautiful weather for this tournament. First day was a little bit windy here at Mainland Commons, but
it was freezing in Upper Sackville.
That ball's going to get away from Maya. Hagen was running on the pitch anyway, and she gets down to second easily. And Nickerson now ahead in the count, 2-0, as Howarth having a little bit of trouble locating her breaking pitches here in the early going of this one.
It's really important for the catchers to get in front of that ball, and I noticed that when I was doing the commentating for at Weirfield and Upper Sackville, that they had to get in front of it because it's a pretty big backstop here and at Weirfield. So Catchers were doing an excellent job.
Swing and a miss there, and the count goes to 2-1. And the starting pitcher for Nova Scotia, or for Ontario, Lauren Howarth, the sister of one of the players on the Ontario 1 team, Emma Howarth. So, and I think this is the younger sister, Lauren. Runner going again.
It's safe.
Stolen base for Katie Hagen. So Nova Scotia not resting on the 3-0 lead. They continue to be aggressive here. And so a big steal for Hagen. That puts her to within 90 feet of extending this lead even further here in a very good top of the first inning for Team Nova Scotia.
Ontario just trying to get out of this tough inning. There's a curveball, great pitch for a strike.
That brings the count full, 3-2.
Just trying to get a hit up the middle.
And we're about 13 minutes or so away from first pitch in that game between Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And again, we will keep you updated on that once it starts.
Third baseman gets it, throws down to first, and gets her. Great throw on the third baseman.
Strong throw across the diamond there by Kaylee Masuda to end the inning, but not before Team Nova Scotia gets 3 big runs on 3 hits. There was 1 error and 1 runner left on base. We'll go to the bottom of the first with Nova Scotia leading it by a score of 3-0. As we get ready for the bottom of the first, we'll take a look at the Team Ontario batting order. Leading off, it will be the shortstop, Ainsley Lane. Batting second and playing first base is Paige Allen. Batting third, the right fielder, Sophie Levasseur. Batting in the cleanup spot, and the third baseman with that strong throw to end the inning, Kaylee Masuda. Batting fifth, the starting pitcher, Lauren Howarth. Batting sixth and playing second base, Mary Green. Batting seventh is their catcher, Sarah Maya. Batting in the 8th spot, it is the left fielder, Kira Owen, and batting in the 9th spot is center fielder, Oceane Leclerc. And they'll be trying to hit into the defense of Nova Scotia, which is anchored by their pitcher, Jada Lee. She pitched in the opening game on Thursday morning, and she had a fastball that was topping out probably close to 90, 92 miles an hour. And she'll be pitching to Ali Stymist, her catcher. Around the infield, first base, Michaela Addington. Second base is Katie Hagen. Third base, Carly Jackson. And playing over at shortstop, Julia Konigshofer. Around the outfield from left to right, it is Jill Stymist, Ellie McCauley, and Rayleigh Nickerson. And our sponsor for the bottom of the first inning, Eastlink Community Channel, and we got to give a big shout out again to the crew over at Eastlink who've been doing a great job on the evening ball games, broadcasting from here at Mainland Commons. It's been a lot of fun to be able to call a game and then at the same time sit right next to them and listen to how Dan and Cecil have been calling the games. And those guys have so much fun when they're calling a game. It's easy for us to have fun sitting next to them as well. This is a key inning for Ontario, though, Chase. They gave up 3 runs in the top of the first. They've got to have a quick bounce back here.
Yes, and can you imagine how bad Ontario wants these 3 runs back? Because since they gave those up, they're probably frustrated that they gave those up. So now they'd be aching for 3 runs to tie it up, or get 4 runs to get ahead in the lead and try to get ahead.
But they will be in tough against Jada Lee. Watch this fastball that she's got.
And I was watching, yeah, you can tell how fast it is, but I was watching Jada warm up, and I could really tell how she really liked to use that fastball. She liked to mix in that curveball once in a while, but she really likes to get that curveball all around the zone. And if she messed up on a pitch, then she usually got her fastball high, but now she's just trying to mix it up and use that curveball once in a while, like I said. But
and Lee
just trying to do what she can do.
Lee not quite happy with something in the landing area on the pitcher's mound. So our fearless leader, Holly Blanchette, out there to do a little bit of the work herself to try and help tidy things up. And I know you know Holly quite well, and You can't say enough good things about Holly
No,
Blanchette and the work that she does to help put on events like this.
No, she's done an excellent job, and I've known her since I was a little boy, and she's put so much work into this. All the fields, this field, and when we did it 2 years ago for Atlantics, and the field kind of looked like this. Not as big, but it looked terrific. She really knows how to put on a good show and set up everything with her crew. She did an amazing job. We're so thankful to have her in the Hams Plains Athletics organization.
Ainsley Lane will lead things off for Ontario. She's the shortstop. Takes the first pitch just a bit inside, 1-0. And Lane looks back into the dugout and gives the dugout a little bit of a wow as how fast that ball came in.
She shocked herself.
Right at the top of the zone, the high fastball for Lee does catch the top of the zone. 1-1 now the count. The other thing about Jada Lee, not only are the pitches fast, but she works fast. She gets that ball back and she is right back there on the mound, right back ready to go again, doesn't waste any time at all.
No.
1-2 now the count from Lee, or for Lee against Lane.
Swing and on the ground. First baseman will pick the ball up, tag on her back, 1 away.
Easy unassisted play there for Michaela Addington as Lane had to fight that one off the fists. And that'll bring up Paige Allen. Allen, the first baseman for Team Ontario. Lee gets set and delivers. Fastball misses high, ball 1.
And if they need a tiebreaker, the game would be here at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time.
Pitch called a strike, and actually I was talking to Holly earlier. Thank you for bringing that up, though. There will not be a tiebreaker needed no matter how things play out. She was telling me that Baseball Canada has it ruled in that only if it's a 3-way tie for first do they have to worry about using the tiebreaker game. That cannot happen with the way the standings currently stand.
Oh.
So our next game here on this field will not be until 7 o'clock tonight. That one off the fists and fouled back, which means, that's a little too early. I was going to say that over at St. Mary's University, the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Toronto Argonauts are playing a CFL game, the Touchdown Atlantic game,
I forgot about
at 5 o'clock this afternoon, but I wouldn't be able to get back here in time for the start of the game. So swing and a miss there, and there's the first strikeout of the afternoon for Jada Lee as she sends Paige Allen down swinging. That'll bring up Sophie Levasseur.
Lee flew that by her. That was a rocket.
And we've seen nothing but fastballs so far from Lee out there on the mound. When she does throw that breaking pitch, watch those Ontario batters end up way out in front because the difference in speeds on Lee's breaking pitch and her fastball, significant, and she's going to fool some batters.
Yes. And she either throws it way back, like in the really late to hit it, or she'll get the Ontario batters make them second guess themselves.
Another fastball in for a strike. This one's right back off of Lee, and
the shortstop discharge, and she's safe.
No, they call her out.
That was a late call, my mistake.
What a throw by Koenigshofer after the ball went off of Lee. It was a close play, but no runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on base. We'll go to the top of the second with Nova Scotia leading it 3-0. Very close play there at first base, but Koenigshofer with the great throw. That'll bring us to the top of the second, and in the top of the second, it'll be Jill Stymist leading things off, the left fielder, followed by Michaela Addington, and then back around to the top of the order for Ellie McCauley. If anybody gets on, then Allie Stymist, the sister of Jill, will get a shot in the second inning. Top of the second inning, if again we were doing the TV and had all the commercials and everything, we'd be playing a Major League Baseball commercial. So thank you to Major League Baseball for your support as well. And just got a
It's getting windier now.
Yeah, the wind's starting to pick up a little bit here again, blowing across from left to right. And okay, you've been at Weir Field, so I can ask you this
Yes.
question because that's the one thing I haven't been able to find out. Have there been any home runs over there yet?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
There was a home run to left field yesterday in the. Let me check. In the Alberta and Ontario game, there was a shot that I didn't think it was gonna go out, but there was like it's not here at Mainland, but there's a fence that you have to hit it over, but then there's another fence, like a second layer,
Yeah.
and she hit it in between the layers, and it was crushed and it was gone.
Okay, so we've had one home run here at this field, and that was delivered by Ella Desbedard of Quebec. Quebec won in their. It was in their game on Thursday that we saw Desbedard hit that home run. So, and you know, we've been referring to as the only player to get a home run at this field, but now we know she's one of two players who've gotten a home run overall in this tournament. So, thanks for that, Chase. Jill Steinmetz leading things off, the left fielder for Team Nova Scotia. And we mentioned that Allie, when Allie was on base, we mentioned she's from Moncton, New Brunswick. So Jill, her sister, also obviously from Moncton.
Is she the older one?
I think Allie is the older sister, if I remember correctly. I'll double check on that. Let's see. Find the right button. There we are. So, yeah, Allie is 20 and Jill is 28. So Jill is the older sister.
Okay.
That pitch misses high, 2-0. So the 28-year-old up to bat right now. The 20-year-old younger sister due up fourth in this inning.
It's a good pitch on the outside corner.
2-1 now.
She knows how to pinch those corners really well.
I think in the first inning, Howarth may be trying to be a little bit too precise, and that's what led to some of the mistakes
Yeah.
that Nova Scotia was able to take advantage of.
Yeah. If you go as a pitcher, you don't want to aim the ball. You want to throw the ball, and then if she wants to get that curveball in, she just throws the curveball like she can, and then the ball will do the rest of the work.
2-2 now, the count.
2-2 pitch, and swing and a miss. And it was on the ground, so she'll run to the base, and she's thrown out by Sarah.
Second out of the inning as Sarah Maya able to get the throw down to first base in time. Second strikeout for Howarth, first out of the inning. And that'll bring up Michaela Addington, the first baseman for Team Nova Scotia. Lefty steps in. First pitch misses high, 1-0 the count. Addington, 24 years old, from Weymouth. Takes a curveball for a strike, 1-1. And the game between Manitoba and Saskatchewan scheduled for a 12:30 start, although that game between Ontario 1 and BC ran a little bit long, so it may not start yet for another little bit.
Yeah, and the game on Thursday, the game took about 3 hours. In the game between Manitoba and Ontario 2.
That was the one that Ontario 2 was leading at 1.9-3, and Manitoba with 13 straight runs to come back and win that 16-9. Another strikeout, back-to-back Ks for Howarth, so she's settled in, and that's her third strikeout of the afternoon. That'll bring up Ellie McCauley. She was the first of those 3 strikeout victims back to lead off the first inning.
First pitch down the dirt. She'll take it. Ball and no strikes. 1-0 pitch, and it's up high.
That pitch, as you said, misses high, so 2-0 the count here on Macaulay. As mentioned, Macaulay 0-4-1 on the game.
Pitch, and it's on, and
bit of an excuse me swing right down to the second baseman and over to first easily for the third out. So no runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left. And through 1.5, Nova Scotia continues to lead 3-0. Due up in the bottom of the second inning for Team Ontario. It's the middle of the order. Kaylee Masuda, Lauren Howarth, and Mary Green. And anybody gets on, then it'll be the catcher, Sarah Maya, who is due up fourth.
No runners left on base.
so remember, there's a game tonight, and I believe it's here.
Yes, it'll be here. It'll be the
6 Eastern, 3 Pacific.
Yeah, 7 o'clock local time, and that will be the quarterfinal game between. We know one of the teams in that quarterfinal game will be Alberta. They will finish third in Pool A and therefore will play a quarterfinal game. And they will play the second place team in Pool B, which could be...
One of these teams?
It could be Ontario. It could be Manitoba. And let me see. It could be and it could be Saskatchewan. Ontario, Saskatchewan, or Manitoba could finish second in this pool. Nova Scotia will finish first if they win and finish third if they lose. So Nova Scotia, if they win this game, they go directly to the semifinal game tomorrow, which will be, that would be the 9 o'clock game, and they would play against BC in that semifinal if they win this. If they end up losing this game and finish third in Pool B, they would play in a placement game at Weir tomorrow morning at 9. So either way, Nova Scotia plays tomorrow at 9. If they win it, they play here. If they lose, they play over at Weir.
Okay.
And that brings up Kaylee Masuda, and the bottom of the second inning being brought to you by the province of Nova Scotia. And a first pitch in for a strike from Jada Lee as Lee continues to paint the zone. There will be a game at 4:30 today, but it will be over at Weir Field, and again that's 3:30 at Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, and that will be a placement game between 4th and 5th place in Pool B to determine 8th and 9th. And we know that Quebec 2 will be one of those teams in that game, and they will either have to face, depending on how the tiebreakers play out and how these two games play out, it could be Saskatchewan that they're playing against, it could be Manitoba that they're playing against, it could possibly be Ontario that they're playing against. So much still to be decided, as there's another strikeout for Jada Lee, her second strikeout of the afternoon. And our two pitchers so far, we haven't even gotten through 2 innings yet, and they have combined to throw 5 strikeouts between them. And here is the battle of pitcher versus pitcher as Lauren Howarth steps in to come up to bat for her first time. Pitch misses high and outside, 1-0. Swing and a miss. And the count goes to 1-1.
Just like she did in the first inning. She's blowing it by players. She just needs to do that.
Here comes the 1-1. For a called strike 2, and now the
Another
count
great
goes 1-2.
pitch. She can do this all game. She will have a lot of success.
And Jada Lee, just 17 years old, from Newfoundland, Labrador.
And strike 3 called.
Her third strikeout. Lee, if you remember when the Canada Games baseball tournament was held, she was part of Team Newfoundland Labrador, the first female player to play in the Canada Games in baseball history, as part of Team Newfoundland Labrador earlier this summer.
Wow.
And she's the one Newfoundland-based player on Team Nova Scotia, which really is Team Atlantic, considering we are able to draw in players from the other Atlantic provinces. And no big surprise that she's playing here at the senior level at the age of just 17 years old.
Wow. There's a ball up over us.
And which gives us an opportunity to remind people that if you do end up coming down to the ballpark and you park close to the field, you do so completely at your own risk.
Yeah, the field is, the parking lot is packed, and in the field, if you're not sure where it is, just behind the Canada Game Center in Halifax, almost in the Bears Lake.
That one misses inside. 1-2 now the count on Mary Green, the second baseman for Ontario. Green wearing a helmet with the A's logo on it, so that would make you a fan of her, I guess. Chase, of course, a member of the Hammonds Plains A's baseball organization. That one fought off and fouled off. So the count 2-2. Two balls, two strikes, two out here in the bottom of inning number 2.
There must be a baseball team in Ontario that's called the A's.
Yeah.
Not Hammonds Plains.
No.
2-2 pitch. Swing, and it's shortstop picks it up. Throws it to first. Got her.
Julia Koningshofer with her second strong throw across from second, and it's the second consecutive 3-up, 3-down inning on the mound for Jada Lee. No runs, no hits, no errors, nobody left on base. We'll go to the third with Nova Scotia still leading 3-0 off of the 3 runs that they scored in the top of the first. And for Nova Scotia, it'll be Ali Stymist, Julia Koningshofer, and Carly Snow. And if anybody gets on, then Carly Jackson. And the top of the third inning, we take this opportunity to give our thanks to a member of the legislature for the province of Nova Scotia, Patricia Arab, for her support of this event. And just doing another quick check of Weir Field, and the stream has not opened yet.
What's the pitch count? What did she have?
And this half inning was brought to you by the province of Nova Scotia.
As we get ready for the top of the third inning. Again, to remind people who have just joined us, one of the things about AO Live in our broadcasts from here at Mainland Commons and at Weir Field, at any point throughout the game, if you want to back something up so you watch a replay, or if you want to back all the way up to the beginning of the day during a point where you're between games, while the feed is open, you can go back and forth anywhere through it to recheck anything that you missed. You can also bounce back and forth between the two feeds all day long. AO Live providing all of the coverage here from the 2023 Baseball Canada Women's Championships. And we want to again send a big shout out and a thank you to Chaba Demokos, who's the guy who is the guy running the back end, does all of the stuff setting up the web page to make sure that we're able to get on air. And then Dixon Cho is our technical man on site, who makes sure that everything is running smoothly from both fields. He's been bouncing back and forth between here and Weir Field all weekend long. So Dixon, thank you very much to you for all of your hard work. And of course, we've got Dave, our director, and we've got our fantastic camera people here. We thank them again for all of their hard work. They do a lot to make us look good and sound good, so they deserve their thanks as well, and we make sure we give that to them. Here comes Ali Stymist. She had a single in the first inning, came around to score the first of the Nova Scotia runs.
And I believe this is the younger sibling.
Yeah, yes, this is the younger sibling.
Drive out to right field. It gets passed into the wall. She's aiming for second. Here's the throw, and she's safely in there standing up. So a runner in scoring position. And great hit to center to right field.
That'll bring up Julia Koningshofer. She flew out to left her first time up, and comes up with Stymist in scoring position off the leadoff double. Again, if Nova Scotia win this game, they will clinch first in Pool B by virtue of having the head-to-head tiebreaker with Manitoba, as Manitoba would be the only other team that could possibly finish 3-1. Pick-off attempt, but able to get back is Stymist. Top of inning number 3, Nova Scotia leading at 3-0 and threatening again with a leadoff double. That one misses high and away. And the count 1-0. Carly Snow, the DH, on deck.
Here's a swing and a pop up. Center fielder, shortstop, center fielder, and it'll drop. Throw in, and it goes. First baseman goes out for the cut, makes the catch, but there's a base hit.
Stymist had to wait and make sure that the center fielder, Leclerc, couldn't get in to catch that ball, so she had to hold up, so she only gets to third on that high single. It'll bring up Carly Snow. Snow with an RBI single her first time up. She came around to score as well.
Summerside native hoping to get the 4th run of the game for Team Nova Scotia. And
we talked about the imports, and there are a grand total of 5 of them on this Team Nova Scotia. The 2 Stymist sisters, although Jill now lives in Dartmouth, so she's...
Here's runner going. Here, and catcher Sarah doesn't throw it. You wouldn't want to throw it in a situation like this, because then the runner at third could go home. Fun fact, Carly Snow won Athlete of the Year back in 2022, last year. 16U, or baseball PEI, U16 female Athlete of the Year last year. Here's a foul ball. First baseman calls for it, and second baseman calls her off, makes the catch. 1 away.
So I was talking about the imports. There are 5 who no longer live in who don't live in Nova Scotia. Natalie Cormier from Moncton, Ali Stymist from Moncton. Jill Stymist is originally from New Brunswick, but is now living in Dartmouth. So we're not going to count her as an import. Tessa Hood from Charlottetown, Carly Snow from PEI, and of course, as we mentioned, today's pitcher, Jada Lee from St. John's, Newfoundland. And up to bat right now is Carly Jackson from Amherst.
So you can hear the wind behind us.
Jackson ahead in the count 1-0, as there is now 1 out in the inning. 2 runners in scoring position, with Nova Scotia hoping to extend on this lead. Jackson gets ahead of that pitch and ends up pulling it well foul. 1-1 now the count. Howarth gets herself set and delivers. That'll miss high, 2-1. Ali Stymist at third, Julia Koenig-Schofer at second. 1 out here, top of the 3rd inning. Ontario, if they win this game, they can finish either first or second.
Swing and it's fouled off. Looks like it's off her foot. Looks like she was limping for a second. She seems to be okay.
If Ontario lose this game, they could still finish second, depending on tiebreakers. If Saskatchewan wins, then Manitoba, Ontario, and Saskatchewan would all be 2-2. They would all be 1-1 against each other.
And base hit to the shortstop. Goes over and makes the play. But a run will score for Team Nova Scotia to make the score 4-0.
So Carly Jackson does get an RBI. That's her second RBI of the game, as Ali Stymist comes in to score. That's 2 out now. But Nova Scotia does extend the lead. It's now 4-0. Also advancing on the play was Julia Koenig-Schofer. She heads to third. And now up to bat, it is Katie Hagan. Hagan reached on an error her first time up. As I mentioned, if Ontario lose this game and Saskatchewan beats Manitoba, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan would all be tied at 2-2. They would all be 1-1 against each other. So that means we would have to go to the defensive runs ratio to determine who would get second, who would get third, who would get fourth. If Nova Scotia wins and Manitoba wins, Ontario would definitely finish third, as they'd be the only team with a 2-2 record, so we wouldn't have to worry about any sort of tiebreaker for that. So Ontario, if they don't come back and win this game, could finish second depending on defensive runs ratio if Saskatchewan wins, but if Manitoba wins and Ontario loses, they definitely will finish third in Pool B. And this top of the third inning, we already did mention the mention that we had to do there.
And also remember, the bronze medal game will be held here at Mainland.
Grounder to second, over to first in time.
Gets it, and that ends the inning. So,
but Nova Scotia does extend their lead. 1 run on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on base. We'll head to the bottom of the third, with Nova Scotia now leading it by 4-0 over Team Ontario. And due up for Ontario in the bottom of the third, it is Sarah Maya, the catcher, Kira Owen, the left fielder, and Oceane Leclerc, the center fielder. That is batters 7, 8, and 9 in the Ontario order. And the bottom of the third is going to be brought to you by Master Tech HVAC and Plumbing.
and tomorrow the bronze medal game and the gold medal game will be held here at Mainland. The bronze medal game will be at 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific, and then the gold medal game will be at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific time, also at Mainland.
And running you through the rest of the schedule for today, again at 4:30 at Weir, it will be Quebec 2 playing in a placement game against an opponent to be determined. Then at 7 o'clock here at Mainland, it'll be that quarterfinal game between Alberta and a team to be determined. It could be Ontario, could be Manitoba, could be Saskatchewan, depending on how everything plays out. Then we get to tomorrow, and we start off with a semifinal game here at Mainland. It'll be British Columbia against the first place team in Pool A, which could be Manitoba, could be Ontario, could be Nova Scotia, depending on how things play out. At the same time, 9 a.m. tomorrow at Weir Field, it will be the third place team in Pool B, which again, to be determined, against the Pool A fourth place team. We do know who that is. That will be Ontario 1, so they'll be playing in that placement game. A 12 o'clock game here at Mainland is the other semifinal, which would be second place in Pool A. That's Quebec 1. As there's a grounder down to third, knocked down by Jackson, throw across the diamond in time to get Sarah Maya for the first out of the inning.
That's a heck of a play. And I'm a third baseman, and that is not an easy play. To stick with it off your chest, and then it drops in front of you, and then able to keep it in front of you, and then make a good, strong throw is not easy.
Not easy at all. Carly Jackson showing again why she is a true two-sport athlete. Finishing through the rest of the schedule tomorrow, we mentioned the 12 o'clock semifinal here at Mainland. At 1 o'clock at Weir, there will be a placement game to determine fifth and sixth place. And then the bronze medal game at 4 o'clock here at Mainland, and then 7 o'clock the championship game. And again, the times that I'm mentioning are all Atlantic times. Chase, of course, has been mentioning the Eastern and Pacific times for everybody. And you know what time zone you're in. You know how to figure out what time it's going to be. But the one thing we can tell you for sure is every single one of those games, whatever time they happen, will be right here on AO Live. Up to bat is Kira Owen, the left fielder. And she's ahead in the count here, 2-1. The 2-1 delivery from Lee.
Cross to the right side.
And Ontario, too, has finally solved Jada Lee at least a bit. They get their first base runner of the game with 1 out here in the bottom of the third. And that'll bring up Océane Leclerc, the center fielder, excuse me. Leclerc up for the first time in this game. And Ontario with a base runner for the first time. So Lee has to switch to pitching from the stretch instead of the full windup, and it doesn't slow her down any. There's a first pitch strike yet again. You mentioned you play third base, but you probably know the importance of a pitcher getting first pitch strikes.
Yes, because you always try to get, check the runner. You always want to get ahead, and then if you miss a couple, you just try to relax and just hit the glove, and then you do that, and everything goes fine. And I always got told just like you're having a catch with someone.
Exactly.
And then there's no stress on you.
There just happens to be someone in between you and the guy you're playing catch with.
Exactly.
Who's trying to, pound that ball back down your throat.
But just act like there's no pressure.
Exactly.
But Jada Lee is doing an awesome job with that. She's just like she's having a catch.
1-2 now the count on Leclerc. Throw down to first after that most recent pitch, and again Owen able to get back easily.
Every pitch matters. And runner stealing on the pitch, and it's on to second. They go to first to get the out, so 2 outs, but the runner will move up to second.
And with Hagen making that play, there was no chance to get a double play with Owen running with the pitch. So Owen advances to second base. That'll bring up Ainsley Lane. Lane led off the bottom of the first inning with a ground out to first base. And here comes the first delivery. Misses just a hair high in the count, 1-0.
Do you have the ages for them?
As just give me a second here. I can.
There's a strike, so the count is 1 ball, 1 strike.
For Ainsley Lane, another 17-year-old in this tournament from Toronto. So 17 versus 17.
Pitch, and she kind of bunts it and gets it onto the pitcher, gets it onto first, and that ends the inning. So at the end of 3, it is Nova Scotia 3, Ontario nothing.
No runs on that one hit, no errors, and the 1 runner left on base. We'll head to the 4th. Nova Scotia, as you said, up 4-0. Due up in the top of the 4th. It's going to be Rayleigh Nickerson, Jill Stymist, and Michaela Addington. And then if anybody gets on, we'll swing back around to the top of the order for Ellie McCauley. And the top of the 4th inning, sponsored by Baseball Nova Scotia. And I'm sure Baseball Nova Scotia quite happy and quite proud of the way their players have been performing in this tournament so far.
So Nova Scotia did a great job in the bottom of the 3rd to shut down Ontario. Now they're trying to get some runners on base.
Try to extend this 4-0 lead that they have and build on the momentum that they have created through the first 3 innings so far. Wind picking up a little bit more, blowing kind of across left to right. But out there on the field, I'm sure they appreciate that breeze to try and cool things off a little bit. It is hot and humid here in Halifax on this beautiful Saturday afternoon.
I bet they'd rather it be a little cooler than having to be sticky and muggy out.
Right now, according to the weather app I have on my phone, 29 degrees, but feels more like 34. And I'm sure you've played in these kind of conditions before. What does it do to a body to try to be out there competing at a high level in temperatures like this?
Well, it definitely doesn't feel good. But you just try to work through it. And I've played in very hard rain before, and that sucks. But It's definitely easier to get hydrated in really, really hot weather than be soaking wet on the baseball field. But players are doing a great job. Just got to stay hydrated.
0-1 the count here on Nickerson. She grounded out to third her first time up, so 0 for 1 on the day so far. Chases that one down out of the zone, and the count now 0-2.
Pretty packed house here at Mainland.
Now, we've had really good crowds all week long so far.
Yes, Weir has been the same. Not as big as this field, but pretty much the same. Here's a ball crushed, and that will drop.
So a leadoff single for Nova Scotia. That means, well, the leadoff hitter gets on for the second straight inning. They did not get the leadoff hitter on in the first. They ended up, the inning that they ended up scoring three of the 4 runs that they currently have. And back-to-back innings, though, getting the leadoff runner on. Jill Stymist comes up to bat, the elder sister of the Stymist siblings. 0 for 1 with the strikeout.
If you look out, you can see how the flags are waving. Helps the fielders so they know where the wind is going. And runner steals and no throw down.
She had such a good jump that Sarah Maya had no chance at all.
No.
Even a perfect throw was not going to catch Nickerson after that great jump. So a stolen base puts her in scoring position here as Nova Scotia looking to possibly extend a lead.
And pitcher checks her at second. She gets in safely.
A good move for Howarth there on that pickoff attempt
Yes.
at second base.
And it's especially helpful if you're a right-handed pitcher, and then you lift your leg up, and then your left foot points to third, so they're not expecting it. Same thing if you're lefty going to first. Here's the pitch, and just missed.
2-0 the count now on Jill Stymist. Very close on that one.
Looks like it could have been either way.
Howarth gets herself set and delivers the 2-0.
Ooh, and it hits her right in the left leg.
Just off the knee. Fortunately that it was off the knee and not not right on the joint there. That puts 2 runners on for Michaela Addington. Addington 0 for 1 as she struck out her first time up. One of 3 strikeout victims for Howarth so far. And coming in to have a chat with her pitcher was the third baseman, Kaylee Masuda. Masuda, one of the elder statesmen on this, Masudo, excuse me, one of the elder statesmen on this team. In fact, the second oldest player on the team. Only Catherine Canali, who's not in the lineup for today's game, is older. Canali at 32, Masudo at 25, the next oldest player for this Ontario 2 team. So showing her on-field leadership as the oldest player in the lineup today. Just talking to her 20-year-old pitcher, trying to settle her down. That first pitch misses high, and it's 1-0.
Ontario trying to get an out. Nova Scotia trying to score those 2 runs.
Howarth from Toronto gets herself set.
And runners go. It's a double steal. And throw down to third. And she's safe. So she will get third base. And the runner from first gets second base. So runners at second and third. Still no outs.
And that pitch was a ball, so Addington is ahead in the count. And a tough throw down there. That throw to third, it's a shorter throw, but the runner from second generally gets a bigger lead, so it makes it quite tough to try and catch that runner.
Yeah, and Sarah was probably more worried about getting third because third would try to get home, right?
Exactly. So 2-0 now the count on Addington. Two in scoring position.
2-0. And there's a strike.
So the count goes to 2-1. And we've seen a lot of high-scoring games in this tournament, so no big surprise that Nova Scotia continuing to be aggressive despite having a 4-run lead at this point. You can't
sit back on a team.
Exactly.
Just think how bad they want those runs.
And the walk to Addington loads the bases and brings us back to the top of the order. Ellie McCauley. McCauley 0 for 2 so far today. She struck out in the first, grounded out in the second, and comes up here with a chance to drive in a bunch with the pond full of ducks. Howarth gets herself set and delivers. That one misses low, 1-0. The count on Ellie McCauley. McCauley, as we mentioned, is...
And here's a ball crushed, but left fielder has to come in. Makes the catch, runner tags. Here's the throw home. And she will slide in safely.
That throw just a little bit up the first base side of the line. They might have gotten Nickerson if that throw had been right on target, but a good effort by the left fielder, Kira Owen, to try and get that throw in.
Yeah, Sarah Maya just couldn't get it.
So Nova Scotia adds another one. It's now 5-0 here with Rayleigh Nickerson scoring the run. Ellie McCauley gets the sac fly RBI. That'll bring up Allie Stymith. She's 2 for 2, a single and a double, and 2 runs scored. Howard steps off, and Jill Stymist gets back to second. Addington back to first.
It's a 20-year-old just trying to do your stuff. And there's a strike.
So 0-1 the count now on Allie Stymist. And Manitoba scored 3 in the top of the first. They're into the top of the second over at Weir Fields, with Manitoba leading the Battle of the Prairies 3-0 over Saskatchewan. And again, if Manitoba wins and Nova Scotia wins, which is the two teams who are currently leading, Nova Scotia would win Pool B.
As they check the runner again. As she's safe, but she took a much bigger lead.
As that pickoff attempt does not catch Jill Stymist far enough off. Again, if these two scores hold, Saskatchewan or Nova Scotia would finish first in the pool, and they would play BC.
Oh, runners go. Throw it. Sarah Mai throws it down, and she is safe.
Another double steal by Nova Scotia.
They're just trying to get as much runners on base as possible.
So
who won the, I forget, who won the Ontario and BC game?
Ontario won that game, but BC still finished first in the pool. Ontario finished fourth in the pool. So if these results hold, with Manitoba leading and Nova Scotia leading, Nova Scotia finishes first, they'd play BC in a semifinal. Manitoba finishes second, they would play Alberta in the quarterfinal tonight at 7.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be a very good game. And then Ontario would finish third, and they would play, it would be an all-Ontario matchup, Ontario 1 versus Ontario 2 in a placement game tomorrow.
That would be fun. We're trying to see. Oh, the sisters will play against each other. The ground ball to second. She fumbled with it. Gets it on to first. Good scoop by the first baseman. Makes the play, but a run scores for Team NS.
So RBI again for Stymist. And as Allie Stymus drives in her older sister Jill. Michaela Addington gets to third on the play. Allie gets the RBI, makes it 6-0, and that is the second out of the inning. But both outs were productive. One was a sacrifice fly to the outfield, the other a ground ball that drove in a run. And if you're going to make outs, why not make them be at least productive? And that's what Nova Scotia's been able to do.
Yeah, another hit batter.
As Julia Koenigshofer will take first base after being hit by that pitch. That's the second hit batter in this inning.
The 20-year-old's trying to get one more out and not trying to be too fancy with his pitches, or not trying to be too hard on herself. Just needs to get one more out.
And that brings up Carly Snow. She's 1 for 2 with an RBI single and a run scored. Snow then popped out to second, her second time up. First and third, 2 away here. Top of the fourth inning. Nova Scotia up by 6. Koenigshofer running.
And it is hit to second. Oh, and the second baseman fumbles with it, gets it on to first, and she is out. Out by a step, but a great play by the second baseman to stay with it. So that will end the top of the fourth inning as we head to the bottom half. Stay tuned.
And that was Mary Snow who made that play to end the inning, but Nova Scotia does put up another couple of runs. They get 2 runs on just 1 hit. There were no errors and 2 runners left on base. We'll head to the bottom of the fourth with Team Nova Scotia now leading it 6-0 over Team Ontario. Ontario 2. Due up for Ontario 2, it's their second, third, and fourth batters in the order. Paige Allen, Sophie Levasseur, and Kaylee Masuda. And the bottom of the fourth inning under the tutelage of the proud contributor Oxford Learning. Oxford Learning supporting the bottom of the fourth inning here from Mainland Commons. 135 pitches now for Howarth. And being 20 years old, she's probably getting close to her maximum.
Yeah, and in yesterday's game, for the Saskatchewan game against Ontario 2, there was a pitcher that went up over her max, and the coach got suspended for a game. Did you hear about that?
I did not, no.
So some pitch confusion. Apparently they didn't have up in the booth, they have a pitch counter, but she went way over her max, so she can't pitch today for Team Saskatchewan.
Leading off the bottom of inning number 4, it is Paige Allen. Allen 0 for 1. One of the 3 strikeout victims of Jada Lee to this point in this game.
There was a great pitch.
Took a little bit off and got the break, and in the zone for strike 1 against the first baseman of Ontario.
It looked like it was going to be high, but then it came down low for a strike. A 1 pitch, swing, and that is up the third base line. Third base has it, throws it to first, and it's offline, and first baseman gets off the base, just got her tippy toes off, so runner is safe, and that is a tough play. That is a tough play for a first baseman, but she did the right thing to get the ball and not be worried about the runner.
Great effort there. Good
Sophie Levasseur.
Great throw across from Carly Jackson, but just a little bit offline. That brings up Sophie Levasseur. She grounded out to short her first time up. Levasseur from Ottawa. That one misses down. Levasseur, another of these young Ontario players. Of course, this being Ontario 2, it's more of a developmental team. We talked about the fact that, Canali is 32 years old, Masudo's 25, but other than that, Howarth is the next oldest at 20. Everybody else is still in their teens.
Runner goes. Here's the throw, and it skips up over the head of the second of the second baseman. And there must be like a rock or something there that it skipped up over. But the runner is safe at stone base. Now there's a runner in scoring position.
So
Sophie Levasseur.
that hit by Allen was ruled a hit, not a throwing error. So an infield single and a stolen base puts Paige Allen at second. And now 2-1 the count on Levasseur. Oh, yes, there's a runner at second base. There we go.
2-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. So foul tips it, so counting 2 balls, 2 strikes. Two pitch and got her. What a pitch to finish off that at bat. Sophie Levasseur strikes out. That was a heck of a pitch.
And that is the 4th strikeout of the afternoon for Jada Lee. That brings up Kaylee Masuda. She is one of those 4 strikeout victims.
And
Jenna Jackson.
Jenna Jackson going to the pen, going to the bullpen. She'll get some throws in.
And Carly Snow, the DH. Actually, I think it's Jackson's going to catch for Snow, who's going to warm up. Yeah, Snow is going to warm up as a relief pitcher, and Jenna Jackson heading out there to catch for as we get some action in the Nova Scotia bullpen with 1 on, 1 out here in the bottom of inning number 4. Nova Scotia with the 6-run lead.
There's a good pitch for a strike.
1-1 now the count on Kaylee Masuda. Masuda, as mentioned, one of the 4 strikeout victims of Lee so far this afternoon.
Here's a swing and a miss.
Chase that one maybe up out of the zone a little bit.
Yeah. But you fooled the batter.
So 2-2 the count.
Two pitch. That's fouled off.
So it'll remain 2-2 with Paige Allen at second base. Quick check in on Weir Field, and they're into the bottom of the second now. Manitoba still leading at 3-0. The pace that this game is moving at, it probably will be over before the Manitoba game before that game wraps up.
Gets
and
her
that's
reaching.
Strikeout number 5 for Jada Lee, and it makes it 2 away here in the bottom of the 4th. Bringing up Lauren Howarth. She was one of those strikeout victims back in the 2nd inning, so 0 for 1.
First pitch, and that is sent up and into the Nova Scotia stands. The fan tried to reach his hand out, just couldn't get it.
Almost a nice play out there in the stands,
right.
But
Got his hand on it, just went back.
the 0-1 count on Howarth.
Swing.
Catches the inside part of the zone, 0-2.
Doing an excellent job locating that fastball. She's doing just what she did when I was watching her warm up. Just try to keep it simple. 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, and the inning is over.
Struck out the side after the leadoff single, so no runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 runner left on base. We'll go to the 5th with Nova Scotia leading it by a score of 6-0. Due up for Team Nova Scotia in the top of inning number 5. It'll be Carly Jackson, Katie Hagan, and Rayleigh Nickerson. That is batters number 5, 6, and 7. Anybody gets on, the inning will continue with Jill Stymist. And the top of the 5th inning is being sponsored by City Councilors Pam Lovelace and Lisa Blackburn. And again, It's worth mentioning again the ramifications of this game. If these scores hold, Nova Scotia leading right now, Manitoba leading right now, if those results hold, Nova Scotia finishes first in the pool with a 3-1 record. Manitoba finishes second in the pool with a 3-1 record. Nova Scotia is first by virtue of the head-to-head victory over Manitoba in the game last night. Ontario would finish third with a record of 2-2. They would play against Ontario 1 in a placement game tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So the All-Ontario matchup over at Weir Field tomorrow morning at 9. Again, if both of these scores hold. No, Saskatchewan would finish 1 and 3. They would be fifth in the pool. Quebec would finish fourth in this pool, also with a 1 and 3 record. Quebec would be fourth by virtue of the head-to-head win over Saskatchewan yesterday afternoon. Saskatchewan and Quebec would play at 4:30 this afternoon over at Weir Field in the 8th and 9th placement game. And of course, the big caveat on all of that is if these scores hold, and we've seen so many comebacks by so many teams through this tournament that you never want to presume that anything is going to stay the way it is. And one thing that is not staying the way it was is the Ontario pitcher, as Howarth is taking out Catherine Canali. And we were wondering why Canali was not in the starting lineup. It's because she was scheduled to be the second pitcher for Team Ontario in this game. So Catherine Canali will take over Howarth's spot in the lineup. That's the 5 spot in the lineup, and she'll take over on the mound as well after a tough 4-inning outing for Howarth.
She did a great job. Going 4 innings. She walked a few batters, but other than that, she was pitching really well. She was able to use her fastball efficiently. Her curveball was unreal, and it was just great.
Gave up 6 runs on 6 hits in 4 innings of work. Had a few walks, but she also struck out 3 Nova Scotia batters. So no other defensive changes for Ontario, just the straight swap of Canali in for Howarth. 1-1 the count on the first batter that she faces, Carly Jackson. Jackson 1 for 2, an RBI double. She came around to score herself after that, and an RBI on a ground out as well. So 2 RBI on the day for Carly Jackson. And the number 2 also coming up here, as it's, oh no, it's 3-1 is the count. I looked up at the scoreboard, they had it 2-2, they changed it, it is 3-1. That one fouled back. So the count runs full to Jackson here, 3-2. Catherine Canali, we mentioned she's the veteran leader of this Ontario 2 team at 32 years old.
Nice pitch outside. So.
And the payoff pitch
First
ends up missing.
Walk of the game.
That'll bring up Katie Hagan.
Katie Hagan.
Hagan 0 for 2. She reached on an error and grounded out. And I see the medical staff are coming over to the Ontario dugout to check on somebody.
That's never good. Fingers crossed that whatever's happening in there will turn out okay. The wind is really picking up here in Halifax. Here's the pitch, and that is sent high. Right fielder calls for it and makes the catch.
Able to camp underneath it is Sophie Levasseur for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Rayleigh Nickerson.
Number 4.
So despite the fact that the wind picks up quite a bit, Levasseur rather, was able to track that ball, and the wind didn't affect it too much. Rayleigh Nickerson, 1 for 2, a single and a run scored.
As they check the runner, and she was stealing, gets it back, and she is safe. What a play. That is great hustle. The first baseman might have hesitated a little bit before throwing it, but that was a great head first slide.
Carly Jackson showing the hustle, getting in there. Looked like they had her picked off, but Jackson showing that speed, able to dive in for the steal.
One out. Here's the grounder. Third baseman has to charge it. Gets it on to first. She's out.
Jackson advances to third on the play, so 2 away now. And it brings up Jill Stymist. Stymist struck out in the second, was hit by a pitch, and came around to score in the fourth.
She got one right in the knee. First pitch.
That'll miss high, ball 1.
Here's a pitch popped up. First baseman going over to make the catch, but she just missed it.
I think she lost it a little bit in the sun there as
It looked like the clouds kind of blocked the sun, but she must have lost eyesight of it.
either way, it is a strike, and 0-1 the count on Stymist. She gets another chance as that foul ball does end up landing. Meanwhile, over at Weirfield, Saskatchewan has 2 so far in the bottom of the third or bottom of the second. They're still batting with the bases loaded, so
Making a comeback, but that has been a long inning. But off to the shortstop, and she missed it. RBI single.
tough hop there.
So Nova Scotia makes it 7-0 now, just like they were doing last night.
Number 12, Michaela Addington.
That'll bring up Michaela Addington. Addington 0 for 1. Struck out in the second, walked in the fourth. Comes up here with 2 out in the top of the fifth, and Saskatchewan now leading at 7-0.
Pitcher checks her shoulder. And checks the runner back. Ooh.
Stymist just able to get back to the bag.
Looks like she fell right on her stomach.
Wasn't a pretty slide back, but she got back.
Wind picking up a little more.
Stymist lost her helmet on that dive back to the bag, and now she's got it back on. She's good to go. Looks like coach was checking it for a crack or something the way that helmet came off.
Yeah.
Addington.
Yeah, we still haven't seen the medics leave Team Ontario's dugout, so hope everything's all right. So the pitch runner's not going.
That one misses high.
Sarah Maya didn't throw it down.
Just to be clear, the medic may have left and we missed it, but we did not see the medic leave.
No,
so
I didn't see it.
Yeah, just to be clear, the medic may have left the dugout. We just didn't see it happen. So
The runner steals. Here's the throw by Maya. Looks pretty good, but is off the glove of the shortstop, so the runner will get in for another steal. I think that's probably like the 6th or 7th steal for Team Nova Scotia.
at least, especially when you consider the double steals, you know,
Yes.
there have been a few 2 at a time. So
We don't have to count, but, but 8's probably a good estimate.
yeah, 2-0 the count. Meanwhile, on Addington, runner on second, 2 away.
It's a pitch, swing, and that's fouled off.
Addington, a little bit of happy feet on that swing as She was kind of hopping around a little bit as she delivered that swing. And so, not sure if our microphones picked it up, but the coach, Mike Konigshofer, telling her to stay
The
down.
runner's
for the
going, swing, and that is popped up out of play on the Nova Scotia dugout side.
So that brings the count to 2-2. Deuces wild, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and a runner on base, number 2. Saskatchewan has now taken the lead down at Weir as they've scored another 2 runs, and the bases are still loaded in the bottom of the 7th inning. So now with Saskatchewan leading and Nova Scotia leading, now it gets to the point where you have to start doing some real arithmetic.
Yes. 2-2 pitch. Misses. Missed up high, so 3 balls, 2 strikes. Counts.
So if the results stay as they are, Nova Scotia is the clear first place as the lone team that'll finish at 3-1. Again, if all of these results hold, with Saskatchewan leading.
Ooh, they came back and now they're up.
Yeah, over Manitoba, and with Ontario trailing Nova Scotia, the 3 teams at 2-2 would all be 1-1 against each other, as well as that one bounces off the top of the dugout just off to our right. They were all 1-1 against each other, so then it would become defensive runs ratio to determine who gets second, who gets third, who gets fourth out of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. And then 5th place would be Quebec, who would be alone at 1-3. So.
And you might have said it, but is there a team that runner goes? Here's the pitch inside as they throw it down. Looks good, and got her. You might have said, but is there a team that? But is there a team that hasn't lost a game in the league? Or has every team
no.
at least one?
Every team has at least 1 loss, and every team has at least 1 win as we wrap up pool play here. So the caught stealing ends the inning, but the Nova Scotia does get 1 run on 1 hit. There were no errors and nobody left on base. We'll go to the bottom of inning number 5 with Nova Scotia now leading it 7-0 over Team Ontario. Due up in the bottom of the 5th for Ontario, it is Mary Green, Sarah Maya, and Kira Owen. And if anybody gets on, then Oceane Leclerc. And the bottom of the 5th being sponsored by East Coast Paving and Atlantic Asphalt. And it's now 6. First time up. And here comes the 0-2 pitch from Lee. That'll miss high, 1-2. And the 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. And so that's going to be yet another strikeout for Jada Lee, her 7th of the afternoon. Fourth strikeout in a row for Lee as she struck out the side in the 4th inning. Brings up Sarah Maya, the catcher. Maya takes a strike for the first pitch of the at-bat, and the count goes to 0-1. And in one of the previous games, we made the comparison, Sarah Maya wearing number 44, and you see there the Hank Aaron type of velocity off of the bat. Sarah Meyer with the single just past the first baseman. Michaela Addington didn't have much chance on that one, as that ball got to her in a hurry and got past her in a hurry. Brings up Kira Owen. Owen is 1 for 1. She had a single back in inning number 3. One of the 3 hits so far for Team Ontario. And that might be hit number 4. It will drop in. Nicely played out there in right field by Nickerson. Picking it up on the one hop, cutting off the ball quite well. Maya advances to second. Nickerson with the single, and that's the first time we've had back-to-back hits for Ontario. That's the first time we've had 2 runners on base at the same time for Ontario at any point in this game. So Ontario now 2 on, 1 out here in the 5th, as they have to try and start working their way into a bit of a rally.
It's a hit, and second baseman cuts it off, throws it to first, but not in time. The bases are now loaded for Team Ontario. Ontario fans are pumped, as you can there to the left of us. You can probably hear.
3 straight singles, loads the bases. Brings up Ainsley Lane. Lane 0 for 2. A pair of groundouts to this point.
So infield playing in.
There's a strike. They are in at the corners to try and cut off a run, but they're back at double play depth in the middle of the infield, as a double play would get Nova Scotia out of the inning. There's another strike, and the count now goes to 0-2.
It's those 2 that are good at French, not me.
Here comes the 0-2.
1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss.
Strikeout number 8 for Lee on the afternoon. Keeps the bases loaded without anybody moving forward, and brings up Paige Allen. She's 1 for 2. Singled in the 4th, struck out back in the 1st. First pitch misses high, 1-0. Allen, another one from Toronto. A lot of players on this team from Toronto.
Big city.
1, 2, 3, 5 of the 13 players on the roster show
Swing
Toronto
and a
as
miss.
a hometown. 1-1 now, the count on Allen.
Just a reminder, Nova Scotia will play at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time.
Tomorrow morning, if they win this game.
And that is skied. Catcher going for it, and ooh. Foul ball, but the catcher looks like she's okay, but she almost ran into her third baseman.
Stymist and Jackson, nearly a bad collision there. Stymist doing a good job to get out of Jackson's way. So that just a loud strike, and the count now 1-2 on Paige Allen, as Lee looking to get herself out of this bases loaded jam. Three straight singles from Maya, Owen, and LeClaire loaded the bases. And that one,
Great pitch, and it's called the ball.
just a hair low, I
Catcher-
think.
Yeah, just an inch low. The catcher was already starting to go back to the dugout. 2-2 pitch, 2 outs. And got her! Great pitch to finish off. That's 9 strikeouts. 9.
Second straight inning that
Getting-
all 3 outs by way of the strikeout. So 3 consecutive singles with 1 out do not end up hurting Nova Scotia, as Jada Lee shows why she was the first ever woman to play in the men's baseball tournament at the Canada Games earlier this year for Team Newfoundland Labrador, as she picks it up when she has to. 3 hits, but no runs. 3 runners left on base. We'll go to the 6th. Nova Scotia leading it 7-0 over Ontario. Due up for Nova Scotia in the top of the 6th. It will be the top of the order: Ellie McCauley, Ali Stymist, and Julia Konigshofer. As we take a look, Saskatchewan finally has that bottom of the 8th inning come to an end. They scored 8 runs on just 4 hits. There were 2 Manitoba errors that contributed to that 8-run inning, but Saskatchewan now leading Manitoba 8-3. And again, if Saskatchewan holds on to win that game, but we've already seen Manitoba come with 2 comeback victories so far in this tournament. And if Nova Scotia holds on to this lead, Nova Scotia finishes first in the pool, Quebec finishes 5th in the pool, Ontario, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan would all be 2-2. They'd be 1-1 against each other, so we'd have to go to defensive innings run ratio, and so then calculations would have to be made, and it would depend on how many more runs get scored between now and the end of each of these respective games to determine who finishes where. The top of the 6th inning sponsored by Cars R Us. Need a new or used vehicle? Visit Cars R Us for all your automobile needs. And again, it is Ellie McCauley leading things off. She's 0 for 2, but she also has a sacrifice fly RBI.
19, Ellie McCauley.
And McCauley steps in against Canali. Canali came in as a relief pitcher to start the 5th inning and will be out there for her 2nd inning of work. And the first pitch to McCauley.
Nova Scotia just trying to add to their lead.
First pitch to McCauley misses inside for a ball. McCauley from St. Peter's, Nova Scotia. There's a strike, 1-1. St. Peter's, if I remember correctly, up in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality.
One pitch, outside, 2-1.
Top of inning number 6. Again, the one thing we know for sure is that Quebec 2 will be playing at 4:30 against somebody in the 8-9 placement game. We know Alberta will be playing in tonight's semifinal at 7 o'clock. Tonight's quarterfinal at 7 o'clock. We know that BC will be in one semifinal tomorrow at 9 a.m. Other than that, everything's still very much left to be determined.
Swing, and that's fouled off over the Nova Scotia dugout.
We know that Quebec 1, will be playing in a semifinal tomorrow at noon. And we know that Ontario 2 will be playing in a placement game tomorrow at 9 a.m. Ontario 1 will be playing in a placement game tomorrow at 9 a.m.
2-2 pitch. Just high.
So of the 9 teams, we know where 5 of them will end up playing their next games. BC will be in a semifinal tomorrow at 9 a.m. Quebec 1 will be in a semifinal tomorrow at
3-2
noon.
pitch and got her.
As the strikeout there for the first out of the inning, that's the second time that McCauley has struck out today, and it's the first strikeout for Canali. That'll bring up Ali Stymist. Again, BC will play tomorrow at noon in a semifinal. Quebec 1 will play tomorrow, or BC will play tomorrow at 9 a.m. Atlantic in a semifinal. Quebec 1 will play at 12 p.m. in another semifinal. On Alberta will play at 7 o'clock tonight in a quarterfinal. Ontario 1 will play at 9 a.m. tomorrow in a placement game. Quebec 2 will play this afternoon at 4:30 at Weirfield in a placement game. But the other 4 teams, Ontario 2, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Nova Scotia, the 4 teams on the field right now, all still very much up in the air as to where and when they will be playing their next games.
Beside the game that you said, are the rest at Weir?
All of the semifinals and the quarterfinals are here. Placement games will all be at Weir from this point forward. The head coach, Mike Konigshofer, imploring his bench to make a little bit of noise. The team is leading 7-0, but a little bit of, I think the heat getting to the players a little bit on the bench there as Ali Stymist takes the ball right to the hip. So she'll head down to first base, and that will... That'll bring up Julia Konigshofer. She was hit by a pitch back in the 4th inning. She's 1 for 2 with a single and a fly out as well as that hit by pitch. So 3 batters now have been hit by Ontario pitching. The first 2 were by the starter, Lauren Howarth.
Here's a ball that's crossed to right field. That'll be a base hit. So now runners at first and second, 1 out.
And that will bring up Carly Snow. Snow 1 for 3 with an RBI single and a run scored. And Snow becomes significant because she would be the 10th run for Nova Scotia. And if Nova Scotia gets a 10-run lead and Ontario doesn't score in the bottom of the 6th, then I am pretty sure the 10-run rule that is in effect for the 5th inning would also be in effect for the end of the 6th inning, so we wouldn't have to play the 7th. That pitch misses inside, ball 1, 1-0. And of course that would be significant for a couple of reasons, one of which is not playing that extra defensive inning could impact on Ontario's defensive run ratio.
Ball right above us.
Stymist at second, Konigshofer at first. Snow at the plate with 1 away here, top of inning number 6. Nova Scotia leading at 7-0.
Pitch, swing and a miss as the ball was in the dirt, so 1 ball, 2 strikes.
As the 32-year-old gets set to deliver a pitch to the
2-pitch swing, and that is grounded to the second baseman, and she fumbles with it, gets it on to first for the out. But runners move up, so runners at second and third now.
So the 32-year-old able to retire the 16-year-old, half her age. That'll bring up Carly Jackson. Jackson doubled and drove in a run in the first. She also came around to score. She grounded out and drove in a run in the third, and then walked and scored in the 5th. So 1 for 2, a double, 2 RBI and 2 runs scored. Quite the stat line for Carly Jackson here this afternoon so far. Swings through that pitch and the count goes to 0-1. As again there we go, now we're up to date. Swings through another and the count now 0-2. Jackson chasing a couple high out of the zone there.
Two pitch. That's outside. 1-2. Ontario just trying to get out of the inning.
And again, it was Carly Snow a moment ago. Now it's Carly Jackson, who is the potential 10th run for Nova Scotia. So if she can get on base and then end up coming all the way around to score, as that one just tipped, so the Jackson able to stay alive. If Nova Scotia is able to go up by 10 and then hold Ontario off of getting any runs in the 6th, that would be the ball game.
Because it's 10 runs after 6 innings.
10 runs after 5 or after 6, either way. It's 15 after 4, and then 10 after 5 or 10 after 6 to end a game early. And Manitoba starting to work their way back. They scored 2 in the top of the 3rd to make it 8-5. We're now into the bottom of the 3rd
swing,
there.
and that is popped up.
Ends up landing just a little bit behind us here. And as I've mentioned a few times, the only time a ball has dangerously come toward this tent is when Eastlink is here. So we're blaming them anytime there's a dangerous one. That one will miss high, 2-2 the count. And then they keep mocking us about the fact that we said, oh, we haven't been in danger. And it's true, we hadn't been in danger until they showed up.
No. But we're not in the safest place in the ball field, I'll say that.
No, that is for sure.
Same at Weir.
As that one will miss outside, and that's ball 4. So the potential winning run, but again, there still would have to be the bottom of the 6th, is on first base.
I thought they'd stop the game because it's.
No, you have to finish the inning. So Ontario would get their chance to bat in the bottom of the 6th. Katie Hagan coming up. She's 0 for 3, reached on an error in the 1st, grounded out in the 3rd, flew out in the 5th.
First pitch.
That'll miss high. And Hagan with a chance to extend this Nova Scotia lead here with the bases loaded, 2 away.
Swing. And a miss, so it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
Canali gets herself set for the 1-1 count. That'll miss outside, 2-1.
One pitch, swing, and that is skied. For second and first baseman go at it. Second baseman makes the catch.
Mary
and
Green.
The inning's over.
Mary Green with the catch to end the inning. So we know we'll play all 7 as Nova Scotia does not score. They get no runs on 1 hit. There were no errors and 3 runners left on base. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. Why do I keep saying Saskatchewan? Nova Scotia leading it by a score of 7-0 over Team Ontario. And due up in the bottom of the 6th inning, it is Sophie Levasseur, Kaylee Masuda, and Catherine Canali. And the bottom of the 6th, on behalf of our proud supporters, Dexter Construction and McLeod's Signs. And again, another update, taking a look at the live game progress from Weir. They're still in the bottom of the 3rd. Saskatchewan still leading it 8-5 with a runner on 3rd and 1 out. And again, if you want to bounce back and forth between games, you're more than welcome to do so here at AO Live. Just exit out of this screen, or even leave this up in one tab and then open up another tab and go back to the main AO Live page. Click on the Weir the feed for the Weir field, and then have both windows open and be able to track both games at the same time. And turn the volume up for one while that inning is in action, and then it goes into a break, turn the volume up for the other one. Just keep flipping back and forth. Why not?
We're not trying to make this confusing.
Great baseball action here from both diamonds all through this tournament so far.
Leading off for Ontario, number 30, Sophie Levasseur.
As Levasseur steps in to start the bottom of the sixth, she's 0 for 2 on the day. One of the 9 players who have been struck out by Jada Lee, and Lee out there for another inning of work. That one just misses high, ball 1. The 1-0 misses outside, 2-0.
Pitch, right down the middle. Strike, so it's 2-1. One pitch, now on the dirt, so it's 3-1.
As Levasseur gets ahead in the count here. Ontario with 5 hits on the afternoon.
One pitch, and there's a strike. As Jada is fighting back.
3-2 now the count.
St. John's native just trying to get one out and then try to let the defense do the rest. There's a ball up high, and then the catcher.
And that is the first walk of the game given up by Jada Lee.
That was a good pitch. It looked like it was going to be a strike, but then it just kind of went outside the zone, and I hope the umpires can hear me.
Kaylee Masuda now coming up with one on, nobody out. She is 0 for 2.
Umpire can't.
Oh, they can. Umpires can throw out broadcasters, absolutely, if they start making too much noise. 1-0 the count here on Masuda. Nova Scotia 7 runs on 7 hits. They have played error-free baseball so far this afternoon. Ontario no runs on 5 hits. They did commit 1 error so far in this game. One of the bigger stats, though, that really shows the difference in this game, just the 1 walk committed by Nova Scotia pitching, Jada Lee, and that is the walk that stands at first base right now, Levasseur. Nova Scotia has been able to work a number of walks out of Ontario pitching. As going through here, 1, 2, 3, only 3 walks, but also 3 hit batters. So 6 free passes onto base in one form or another.
Here's a pitch. It looked good and just missed.
And out of the 7 runs that Nova Scotia has scored, of the 6 free passes, whether it's walks or hit by pitch, 2 of the runs were players who got on base from a free pass. There's a swing and a miss, and strikeout number 10.
Wow.
Not only is it strikeout number 10, but out of the outs that have been committed, that is 7 consecutive strikeouts.
Oh my goodness.
Now, to be fair, in between those 7 strikeouts, there have been a couple of hits for Ontario and 1 walk, but 7 consecutive outs by way of the strikeout for Jada Lee just shows how well she has been pitching here this afternoon.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the skipper go to talk to her, so it looks like she might go next inning. Who knows? Pitch up high.
There is somebody down there in the Nova Scotia bullpen, but you would think, and the thing being also with Lee being only 17 years old, there is a pitch limit that she can throw.
Yes.
She also threw a couple of days ago.
I believe she pitched on Thursday.
Yes, yeah, she threw in the opening game Thursday. There's another strike, and the count now 1-2.
And we don't have the pitch count, So we don't know how much, but
it looks like she's at 83 pitches to this point, so she's got a little bit of room left. And I know they're gonna
swing and a miss.
11 strikeouts,
Oh my
8 in a
goodness.
row, 8 retired by strikeout. Not 8 consecutive strikeouts, because there were some hits in there, but 8 consecutive outs that have been strikeouts from Jada Lee. She doesn't even need defenders behind her
That's right.
now.
At least not for this inning.
Not for the last couple of innings. Mary Green comes up.
She can play the game by herself.
Green 0 for 2. That one misses outside, 1-0. Jada Lee making history earlier this year at the Canada Games, making history here at the Women's Nationals.
I bet she'll make history for making history twice.
There's another strike in the count, 1-2. And in the games that Lee hasn't pitched, she's also played well at shortstop, and
she has a cannon of an arm. The pitch, first baseman flips it to pitcher, gets that out.
And that breaks the streak, but it also ends the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 runner left on base, who got on by way of the only walk given up by Lee. And we will go to the 7th, with Nova Scotia leading it by a score of 7-0. Due up in the top of the 7th, it is the 7, 8, 9 hitters, Rayleigh Nickerson, Jill Stymist, and Michaela Addington. Anyone gets on, then we go back around to the top of the order for Ellie McCauley in the top of the 7th. If you're hungry after the game, visit Boston Pizza at Bayers Lake. Just up the road a little way. You can get there maybe about 3 minutes of driving will get you to the Boston Pizza. And that sounds like a good idea. I might just end up there after the game myself.
It's making me hungry.
She's at 142 pitches. Wow.
That's a lot of pitches.
And she's only 17 years old. That might...
I don't know, but that probably means she can't pitch for a few days.
Well, I mean, this tournament only has today and tomorrow left, and this was going to be the game that she was going to get to her maximum in her pitch count. Okay, let me just double check here. All right. Yeah, she is at her maximum, so I don't think she'd be able to come out.
But I think I'm going to eat after the game, so yeah.
So as we get set for the top of the 7th inning here, Nova Scotia with the 7-0 lead. We'll again check on Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan put one more run up in the bottom of the 3rd, so they're now up 9-5 on Manitoba. Manitoba back up to bat here in the top of the 4th, or there in the top of the 4th.
Batting number 4, Rayleigh Nickerson.
Rayleigh Nickerson up to bat. She's 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored.
Pitch, and that is skied, and the ball will drop. That's a base hit.
Second hit of the game for Nickerson, as that one just gets into that small triangle
Number 18,
where
Jill
a little too deep for the first baseman, a little too far towards the line for the second baseman, and too shallow for the right fielder to get to. Nickerson able to find that hole for the leadoff single, brings up Jill Stymist. Stymist is 0 for 2, or sorry, is 1 for 2. She reached on a single in the 5th. She was hit by a pitch and came around to score in the 4th and struck out in the 2nd. And a throw over to first, and Nickerson slides in, showing once again the importance of laundry detergent to the game of baseball. And the first delivery to Stymos.
And
The
she
bunt is
bunts
laid
it,
down.
but it goes foul. She had her butt right on the ground. And
When your coach calls for you to bunt, it doesn't matter whether it's in the zone or not. You try and get that bunt down. And Jill Stymos, great effort to get her bat onto that ball. As, like you said, it was maybe 2 or 3 inches off the
Yes.
ground by the time
Yes, it
she
was.
made contact.
And I've seen I've seen catcher and a pitcher, they'll roll balls down the third baseline. Oh, check the runner again. But I've seen catchers and pitchers roll a baseball down the third base line to see if it goes fair or foul to test what it is so they know for the game. Smart idea.
Yeah. And that one was pretty clearly going to go foul the whole time.
Yes. As runner goes, here's the throw. And she is safe.
As
Second baseman drops the ball.
Yeah, not able to make the catch there, unfortunately, for Ontario was Mary Green. I think if that ball stays in her glove, they get the out, but...
That was a good throw by Sarah.
So Jill Stymos now with a runner in scoring position, and 1-1 the count. Here comes the 1-1 pitch.
Here's a ball that's hit on the ground. A third baseman drops it, and she is safe. So I think it's an error. She gets on base. An error.
Nickerson not able to advance as the ball was knocked down by Kaylee Masuda. And we'll wait and see what the official scorers do with that. They do credit it as an infield hit. So first and second with nobody out, Michaela Addington. Addington 0 for 1. Sorry, Addington 0 for 2. Struck out, grounded into a fielder's choice.
Still runner at first and second. Nobody out. As looks like it's a double steal. Throw down to third, and got her. And I'm not sure, but I don't think there is reviewable play, but no, there isn't. But that was a great throw and a great tag. Coach didn't look like he agreed with that, but that was a great throw by Sarah Maya.
So that's the first out of the top of the 7th inning. Jill Stymos takes second base on the back half of the double steal. I don't think she gets credit for a stolen base though if the out is made on the other half of the attempted double steal.
Yeah.
Just one of those weird statistical anomalies.
Yeah.
If one gets credit for a stolen base, they both do, but if one is caught stealing, the other one just advances on the throw to the opposite bag.
Yeah. You don't see double steals often in baseball.
No.
Nova Scotia's taking advantage of it. Is not taking advantage of it.
There's a 3-0 take all the way, and it's in for a strike. 3-1 now on Addington. And that one will miss high, ball 4. So Addington walks for the second time. Puts runners at first and second with 1 out. Brings up Ellie McCauley. McCauley 0 for 3 with a sac fly RBI thrown in there as well. McCauley, the only player in the Nova Scotia lineup not to get on base in this game. But she does have a sacrifice fly RBI, so she has still contributed offensively. One and 0 the count. That'll miss high. 2-0. Canali shakes off the first sign, accepts the second one, delivers the 2-0 pitch.
And there's a
And
strike.
a strike.
Late call by the ump. What's the score of the Saskatchewan game?
9-7 now. So Manitoba gets 2 in the top of the fourth to turn it into what was 9-5, now 9-7. Saskatchewan still leading, batting in the bottom of the fourth inning. And that one far from over. And again,
It's hard to believe they were once down 3-0, and then they've scored 6 runs since then, and Manitoba scored 4 more. There's a strike.
so 3-2 now the count here with 1 away. Top of the 7th inning. Nova Scotia with runners in first and second base.
Goals just get one into the gap. Ontario just looking for a double play. Pitch, swing, and that is sent hot. The second baseman calls for it, makes the catch. 2 down.
Mary Green has had a great day in the field at second base for Ontario. That is her, I'm just trying to look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's her 6th putout of the afternoon
That
from
is
second
really good.
base. That brings up Allie Stymist. Stymist is 2 for 3 with with a single, a double, and 2 runs scored as well as an RBI. She also reached being hit by a pitch once. So she's been on base 3 of her 4 times up. Takes a first pitch strike and the count goes to 0-1. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 7th when Ontario comes up, they're going to need to score at least 7 runs. And it's going to be up to the bottom of the order to get that rally started. Sarah Maya, Kira Owen, and Oceane Leclerc are the 3 due up. And if any of them get on, then it flips back around to the top of the order. But it will be a tall task to try and have a 7-run rally at least. If Nova Scotia scores here in the top of the 7th, then they need to score even more than that. That one misses low.
Runner at first looked like she hesitated a little bit. She was going to go, and then she stopped herself.
I think the issue was the fact that the runner at second, Jill Stymist,
Didn't go.
and so that meant that Addington had to stop. I think Addington was anticipating that Stymist was going to go. And so Allie Stymist still at the plate here with the 2-1 count.
Pitch upstairs.
Misses high, 3-1.
Ontario just needs one more out, and then they're done. And then they get on the sticks to try to tie things up. Pitch, swing, and that is deep. And over the head of the center fielder. 1 run in. Another run in. Rounding, she gets in there, and that's an RBI double.
Her second and third runs batted in of the game for Allie Stymist. Her second double of the game, and it's now 9-0 for Nova Scotia.
Wow.
So what was already a tough challenge for Ontario becomes even tougher.
And it looks like the skipper going out to talk to her pitcher, to try to calm her down after that RBI double.
As Julia Koningshofer waiting for her turn to bat. She's 2 for 3, a pair of doubles or a pair of singles. She also reached on a hit by pitch and flew out. As the meeting on the mound concludes, we get ready to continue here.
Oh.
The wind picking up again, knocking the hat off of the third baseman for Ontario. That, of course, is Kaylee Masuda. But she was able to get it back. And
Good thing I took my hat off. 2 outs, and this has popped up. Shortstop and third come after it. Shortstop, and it's off her glove. Runner watching it, and she's sent home. Here's the throw. As she gets it standing up, but here's the throw to second. And got her. Heads up play by Team Ontario. Run scores, but heads up play by Team Ontario.
so that will be the third out of the inning. Koningshofer will reach on the error. The run will count as Stymist crossed the plate before Koningshofer was put out trying to get to second base and score the put out 2-4. And the inning does come to an end, but Nova Scotia does put another 3 runs on the board. They get 3 runs on 3 hits. There was 1 error and nobody left on base. We'll head to the bottom of the 7th. Ontario needs 10 to tie, 11 to win. And it will be, as I mentioned, the bottom of the order starting things off. Sarah Maya, Kira Owen, and Oceane Leclerc due up for Ontario in the 7th. And as we've been doing here from Mainland Commons most of the weekend, as we get to the 7th inning, time to start thinking about who the coaches might be looking at as players of the game. For Nova Scotia, you could just about look at anybody and have a legitimate argument for them. I'm going to take a look in particular at Ali Stymist. She's 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, 2 doubles, 3 runs scored, reached base 4 of her 5 plate appearances, and played really well behind the plate. In my mind, Ali Stymist would be player of the game for Nova Scotia, but you could make an argument for just about anybody else in that lineup.
Yeah, I agree. And that's probably one of the toughest decisions that the coaches got to make for this tournament is who's going to be the player of the game. And I agree with what you said, but I would have to go with the pitcher. 10 strikeouts, though. She did really, really good at the plate. 10 strikeouts, and she only hit 1 batter. And that is really good considering she's been in this game for 6 full innings, and this could be 7. So I would have to argue with you.
Yeah, you know what? It depends. Are you going to look at what a player did offensively or what a player did defensively? You know,
I agree. Yes.
It is tough. Looking at Ontario, unfortunately, there's not a lot of offensive highlight to talk about. Kira Owen, though, did go 2 for 2 at the plate so far. She's going to be due up second in this inning as well. So
I would have to go with the second baseman,
or
Mary.
or the second baseman, Mary Green. She had a great game out in the field. So again, it depends whether you're looking for offense or you're looking for defense.
Yes.
As to how you're going to make that decision.
Yes.
As that pitch misses high, 1-1 the count here on Sarah Maya, the catcher for Team Ontario. She's one of the 5 players who has a hit so far in this game for Ontario.
1-1 pitch, swing, and it's hit to the second baseman, and it goes under her glove. She had her glove up just a little too high. So there's a single. So Saskatchewan still beating Team Manitoba 9-7, but there's a runner at second base.
Base is now loaded,
base
actually,
now
with
loaded.
1 out. And I'm just flipping over here. They are going to call that an error on the second baseman for Nova Scotia, Katie Hagan. Yeah, that was Unfortunately for her, the glove just a little bit off the ground and the ball goes right underneath it. So Hagen makes the error. That means there's one on with nobody out.
It's the first pitch, and that was a great pitch.
So Kira Owen, who, as I mentioned, coming into this inning is 2 for 2. A pair of singles, ended up getting stranded at second base both times. And she played well in left field as well. Didn't get a lot of defensive chances, but played well.
Ooh.
As that one ends up catching Stymist.
Right below the waist.
And the umpire, not that the plate needs a whole lot of cleaning right now, but that's one of those courtesy cleans of the plate to give the catcher a little bit of time to catch her breath again.
Just a little bit, just a little time to relax.
And now the other umpire goes up and does a little bit of grooming on the mound as well to give Stymist a few extra seconds there too. Just shows the camaraderie between umpires and players. You know, they look out for each other.
Yes.
That one called third strike. It was a bit of a delayed reaction, but it was there. And that's the 12th strikeout for Lee. And the first out of inning number 7. So, oops, into the bottom of the 7th. There we go. Get that part of the scoreboard right.
And right there on that pitch, you could see the third baseman was in maybe just a foot, in, like right at the grass, where the grass begins, maybe a foot more in. There's a good pitch.
As we've got a pinch hitter for Ontario, Nadia Zagala. And Zagala let's get back to the right spot here. Zagala, just 17 years old, from Toronto.
Ooh.
That one misses high and inside.
And there's a strike. And she had to duck for it, but it was called a strike. That was a great pitch. Get the batter second guessing.
So Zagala down in the count now, 0-2. 17-year-old from Toronto. And
is there strike 3 called? So 2 outs.
And that's strikeout number 13. And you know what? As good as Stymist has been at the plate, I'm going to change my vote and go with you, Chase. I think you're right.
Yes, I'm always right.
You are. You're.
As the Nova Scotia fans give Jada Lee a huge round of applause, and she deserves it. 12.
This is not about strategy. This is not about anything else except giving the fans a chance to acknowledge Jada Lee as she comes off the field after throwing 6 2/3 innings of no-run baseball, 13 strikeouts, just 5 hits, 1 walk, and it doesn't matter whether you're a fan of Nova Scotia, a fan of Ontario, or a fan of just baseball in general. You got to tip your hat to Jada Lee and the performance she had out there on the mound today.
Yes, I agree.
That was phenomenal.
That was outstanding.
You know, as announcers, we're supposed to be unbiased.
Yes,
but
that was
I'm going to stand up as well for that. That was an absolutely stellar performance from Jada Lee here today.
And the Team Ontario parents and fans are still giving a round of applause.
And coming in to take over on the mound, it's going to be Carly Snow. So Snow moves from designated hitter to pitcher, and she's coming in here being tasked with getting the final out of this ball game after that monumental performance by Jada Lee. That was... you know, as an announcer, you want to try to stay away from superlatives like perfect, except unless it's a perfect game.
But that was
as close to perfect as we're going to see at this level. And you know, I would not be surprised. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go way out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that if we see a female professional baseball player in the major league systems. Now, she might not get all the way to the majors, but if we see a professional female ball player in the major league systems at some point in the next, say, 10 years, it will be Jada Lee pitching for somebody It might be only at AA ball, but she is going to be somewhere in somebody's system someday.
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And people are going to look back in 10 years and say, this JLE kid had 13 strikeouts in the start against Ontario. It's easy to say pitcher did 13 strikes, but just the way she did it was phenomenal. And I haven't seen a pitcher in the majors throw 13 strikes. And and that was a great outing. That woman deserves all the credit.
And again, just 17 years old. Now, I know you're still pretty young.
I'm only 4 years younger than that.
So, you know, for somebody at my age to say just 17 years old, that carries a little bit more weight. But just 17 years old,
wow.
She has got such a future ahead of her. And now to finish it off, Carly Snow has to come in, and her first challenge is going to be Ainsley Lane coming in with 1 on and 2 out, and a first pitch from Snow in for a strike. And you go from a Newfoundlander on the mound to a Prince Edward Islander on the mound, and you're not losing much there.
No.
As Snow with a great first pitch strike.
There's this. Oh.
And that one misses inside.
I hope that umpire didn't hear me, but that looked right down the plate.
I think from our angle, it's sometimes hard to tell inside, outside. It might have been. Height, you're able to tell a bit better, but inside, outside, it's a little challenging. That might have been a bit inside.
Yeah, and here's a pitch, and that is into center field. So runners move up. So runner at first and second, 2 outs. So any base would work here for Nova Scotia to get the out. And Ontario just trying to get at least 1 run on the board.
Brings up Paige Allen. She's 1 for 3. She was struck out twice out of those 13 Ks that Lee had. She also singled in between those 2 strikeouts and continues to try and keep Ontario alive here a little bit longer.
There's a good pitch, and there's a strike. I thought that was kind of a late call.
Saskatchewan with 4 more runs in the bottom of the 4th. It's now 13-7 over there.
That will be a good ending. What inning did you say
they're still in the bottom of the 4th there, so still a lot left to be played.
And here's a base hit.
No, that's foul.
That was fair for most of it.
It ended up getting out across the foul line just before the third base bag. So a loud strike against Paige Allen, and Ontario is down to their last strike. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 out here in inning number 7. Nova Scotia leading it 10-0 with a chance to finish things off. Carly Snow delivers. That'll miss high, 1-2. Tried to get Allen to chase one up out of the zone.
Summerside native just trying to get the lot. She has 1 more pitch. I'm sure the high schooler would love to get last pitch to finish off. Here's a ground ball. Ground ball to third. She fumbles with it. Throws it to sets her feet. And got her. That is your ball game. That's your ball game. Nova Scotia wins. Nova Scotia wins.
What a throw by Carly Jackson to finish it off.
And
no runs, 1 hit, 1 error, 2 left on base, and the Nova Scotia team will finish first in Pool B. They will take on British Columbia in a semi-final tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. At worst, Nova Scotia will be playing for a medal tomorrow, whether it's the bronze medal game if they lose to BC, or they could be playing for gold if they get the win over BC tomorrow.
I'm sure Nova Scotians would love to see the Nova Scotia team win gold medal.
And so we'll get the handshakes and then the presentation of the players of the game, and a tough decision for players of the game. I think Jada Lee, I think you're right, it's going to have to be her, although you could make a good argument for Ali Stymist as well for Ontario.
Yes.
Mary Green with the play that she had at second base. She was great defensively all
She had
game.
a lot of good plays.
But if you're looking at the offensive side of the game, you got to look at the fact that Kira Owen went 2 for 3. She's the only player who got 2 hits, the only player who got on base twice. And, so it depends. Are you looking at offense or are you looking at defense? Or are you looking for some other intangible that we haven't even thought of? We'll have to wait and see who Ontario chooses as their player of the game. But my nominees would either be Mary Green for her defense,
And I would say the pitcher and Mary Green.
or Catherine Canali, who came in and pitched in relief and had a very good game pitching those last 3 innings.
And the player of the game for Nova Scotia,
I bet it's the pitcher.
number 11, Jada Lee.
Told you.
Can it be anybody else but Jada Lee?
No,
What
I
a
cannot.
performance. So that's going to do it for us here until 7 o'clock this evening when we bring you the quarterfinal game between Alberta and to be determined, depending on the outcome of the game between Saskatchewan and Manitoba.
Keep an eye on that.
The Rough Riders now lead by a touchdown over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 14-7. It's Saskatchewan leading Manitoba 14-7.
Oh my God.
Sorry, with being a Rough Riders fan, I had to throw that in there at least once. So that's going to do it for us on behalf of Chase Leslie. Chase, thank you again so much.
No
You
problem.
did a
Thank
great
you
job with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
This is Michael Petter saying, may your pitches hit the corners and may your liners reach the fence. Thanks so much for watching. Your final score once again, Nova Scotia 10, Ontario 2-0. We'll be back with you here from this field at 7 o'clock tonight for the quarterfinal game, Alberta versus to be determined.